Hello everybody, welcome to this Protection Insight podcast. And joining me today is Tony Ormond, who is National Partnership Manager over at Royal London. And we're going to look at how to complete a Royal London discretionary trust for our case study client, which is a single life assurance policy for an unmarried couple. So welcome to the podcast today, Tony. How are you?
Hi everybody. Always great on a Friday, or whatever day we're recording this, Vince.
Good. Well, to get us started, Tony, what we need to do is obviously find the trust. And I know at Royal London, you've got a few different trusts for different situations. So can you guide me through how to find the correct trust for what we're doing today?
Yeah, so sometimes it's a little bit quirky with certain situations within Royal London's trust, but they're very flexible and very easy to use. So if you go to the main advisor site that you'd normally go to quote, apply, etc., our extranet site, you click on the top box, which is Tools, and you'll see a heading Tools for Protection. And if you scroll down slightly to the right, you'll see Find the Right Trust. And so you click on Find the Right Trust, and it starts helping you build whatever trust you're looking for whatever client situation you find your customer in.
My case study here today, Tony, is not a relevant life plan, so I guess I'll click no to that. It's not a business menu plan, not business protection.
Nope.
It's not a joint life first death policy, so it's not owned by more than one person. Just life cover, yes, it is just life cover. Do they want to be able to change the beneficiaries in the future? So this is really where we want a discretionary trust, so yes. And there we go. We've got a suggestion, gift, trust, discretionary.
So you can see how easy that is to use. You answer the questions, it gives you the trust that you need to use. Probably just worth mentioning just before we open that trust and discuss how to put it in. If the plan is just life cover and it's a single life person, you may want to use our beneficiary nomination facility, where for single life plans, life cover only, you can nominate the beneficiary on the application form. It is flexible because that beneficiary can be changed at a future date, but it doesn't involve any more forms. It's a very simple way of effectively achieving the same thing as a trust. And we're also seeing a lot of single life plans used for that. So it's a lot easier than setting up a trust, but you may want to set up a trust for other reasons.
It is great for new business applications. And of course, if you use beneficiary nomination, you can always turn that into a trust anyway at a later date. But I think with our case study today, the policy is already in force. So I think we'll need to use the gift trust discretionary. So if we open that up, now this at the time of recording has just been updated, Tony. So the text is slightly different with the new Royal London branding there. Just guide me through anything important that I need to see.
We like to change our colours every so often, as you know, Vince. We like to change the colours, keep the colouring in department busy at Royal London. But the change is really around how the trust form can be signed. We'll get to that probably later in the time, but it's just the fact that of not requiring a physical signature on the trust form anymore. We will accept digital signatures, but we can obviously highlight that when we get to it.
Okay, so on the front of the trust form, we can see here that this is the Royal London Protection Gift Trust, discretionary. The word gift means anything you put into this trust is given away. And as we've talked about on these podcasts, discretionary means that's for the trustees. The trustees have discretion. They've got choice about who to award benefit to. So if we just walk our way through the trust form, Tony, page number 2, interestingly, we've been talking about settlers quite a lot with all of these different provider podcasts, but at Royal London, you actually call that person the donor.
Yes, they're donating something potentially. That's our terminology.
Yep, which makes sense. And it means the same thing. It's the life assured who writes their life policy into trust. And interestingly, you can see there on page number 2 that the donor under F1, it says the donor to be entered here is automatically a trustee. So when we talk about trustees from this point on, we're actually talking about additional trustees. And you can see on line 2 there must be at least one additional trustee entered into F2. We always say that 3 is a really good number if you can get 3 additional trustees, but certainly the donor is the first trustee, and then from that point we're talking about any additional trustees. Now, what to do with the trust when we've completed it, Tony? If we take a look at page number 3.
Yes, so once the trust form is completed, however it's completed digitally or physically, the original, once it's completed, is kept by the customer. I would imagine as the advisor you want to keep a copy yourself on file, and Royal London will just accept a copy of that form, emailed to us, to your case manager, or to the email address that you can see there, or scanned as a PDF separately or physically sent to us in the post, but it's a copy that's the important piece there, Vince. Yeah, the original stays with the customer.
Yeah, and another point to just pay attention to there is the fact that you might have clients with old legacy policies such as Bright Grey, even Scottish Provident. So there are the two different addresses there that can cater for those different policies.
Yeah.
So if we take it down to page number 4, this is actually the start of the trust, isn't it, Tony? It says at the top, block capitals, don't use correction fluid, Tipex.
Yeah, editable PDF. Yeah, but yeah. But also, don't use that. Yeah, if you make a mess and don't scribble stuff out, just start again on a paper copy.
Okay, so let's scroll our way down. There's obviously lots of legalese, lots of rules about how the trust works. We're going to focus really on how to complete this. So if we scroll down now to page number 7, this is the first part, Tony, where we actually need to complete something. So we've got a single life assurance policy. You can see there F1, the donor. So we're talking there about the client, aren't we? The life assured.
The plan owner. Yeah, the plan owner. Whoever owns the plan is donating it. So it's their name, their name and address. In a single life, obviously, it's just owner 1.
And again, another important point to note here is the fact that you can see donor 2, and we've seen on some of these podcasts that some providers do allow you to write joint life policies into trust. Royal London is no different. However, this, remember, is a gift trust. So that means that anything that you put into this trust is given away. And if you think about it from the point of view of a joint life first death policy, do both lives assured want to give that benefit away? Usually that's not the case. You want to retain the benefit if you're around to use it. So you've actually got a different trust that caters for joint life first death policies, haven't you, Tony?
Yes, so that's, a lot of time that's used in whole of life situations for, different types of issues, not really traditional term assurance plans that are linked to a mortgage debt or such like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, if we use the Find the Right Trust tool again that we saw at the beginning, if we would have said that there was more than one plan owner, we would have got the option of a survivor trust, which would have been perfect for a joint life first death policy. So we'll complete the details there for donor 1. And if we move down to page number 8, this is where we're talking about those additional trustees. So obviously the donor is a trustee, but the other trustees, we need at least one of these. Now, I can see here, Tony, we've got the name, address. We've also got dates of birth. Probably a good idea so we can identify them. So if we enter the names and addresses of all 3 of our trustees in there, you can actually cater for 4 trustees. And if we move down to page number 9, of course, it says there's another box that we can enter the plan number. So you can actually, by the looks of it, write the policy into trust using this deed. But as you said before, Tony, probably the beneficiary nomination is a better route, an easier route, should we say.
It's just worth mentioning, Vince, under Royal London's kind of menu plan setup, you'll have an overarching policy number and you'll have different plan numbers within that. So it might be a menu plan where you might only want to put one part of it into trust. You don't have to put all of it into trust, and that's why the overall policy is split into different plans. So it's the specific plan number that you're putting in here, not the overarching policy number. We see that mistake quite a bit. It's worth just mentioning a couple of things on the trustees. When you're gifting a policy away, as you well know, you're giving the beneficial ownership of that policy to other individuals, so it's really key who they are. And it's also at the discretion of those trustees where any potential benefits that are in a trust are distributed. So if there was just 2 trustees, the life assured's are automatically a trustee, but they've died, so that leaves 2 remaining trustees. Who they are, they need to agree. And as usual in any 50-50 situations, it's the one that actually says no that wins. So that's why it's really important to maybe have more than 2 remaining trustees, but that may be difficult to get, but it's just worth pointing that out. Just worth pointing that out.
We think if you can do it, 3 additional trustees is a really good number to go with. So good point, Tony. So if we move it down onto page number 10, now we're getting towards the end of the trust form, as you can see. What you can see here under discretionary beneficiaries, this is often referred to as potential beneficiaries, discretionary beneficiaries, possible beneficiaries. These are the candidates who they could possibly receive benefit, couldn't they, Tony? And in F12.5, F12.6, in Roman numerals there, that's anyone else, isn't it, Tony, that isn't already mentioned?
Anyone else that's not in that, other F12s 1 to 4, then it could be children from another marriage perhaps, or it could be other individuals, or it could be the golf club, or it could be a different trust or charity or whatever it may be. But it's at the discretion of the the individual. You very rarely see that box filled in for most cases because the people take out cover to leave for their family. So, the other categories of discretionary beneficiary cover that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if we look at our case study, obviously these two clients are not actually married to each other. So it might be worthwhile putting that name in there of the unmarried partner, because you'll not see an unmarried partner on the discretionary beneficiaries. But another thing about the Royal London Trust is you will see that there isn't actually a box to name beneficiaries. That isn't something you'll see with Royal London. So it's imperative really that it's clear to the trustees about exactly what they need to do, either by capturing something here or the letter of wishes, which again, if you want to delve into that into a bit more detail, take a look at the Letter of Wishes podcast.
It's worth just pointing out, Vince, one thing on the role of the trustee, who they distribute the funds to. If they went outside of any of these beneficiaries, they'd have to have a damn good reason to do so and could be challenged legally. So within the guide to being a trustee form that Royal London produce, it mentions, that the role of the trustee and what they'd have to do. So as a life assured who's gifting or donating the monies into a trust, they can be sure that the beneficiaries have some direction as to what they need to do and how they need to do it.
Yeah. Okay, good. And if we move down to the bottom of page number 10, this is where we can capture some donor signatures. Now, the interesting thing here, this is at the time of recording the podcast, this has just changed, and you'll see this on the Royal London Trust Deeds that you can download from the advisor site at Royal London. Obviously, we pick up the donor name and the signature and the date. You'd expect that, but of course that signature there can be a wet signature, but it can also be a digital signature. That means effectively this whole thing could be done on the computer. It could be done on the computer and it could be done electronically. So if you think about the model of how you work, if you do work remotely from your clients, you could actually compose this for your client because it's an editable PDF, and you could send it to the donor, that's the life assured, for them to sign. If we scroll down a bit further, what you'll notice, that's the end of the form. So what you won't have seen there are any additional signatures of the trustees or any witness signatures. That was something that you removed last year, wasn't it, Tony?
Yeah. Just make it easier to do, as easy as possible.
Now, if you're interested in actually how to go about those digital signatures, there are different digital signature platforms available, DocuSign, Adobe Sign, things like that. And we'll do something separate that shows how to use and navigate through those systems. But it's quite an exciting change, Tony, to actually see that with the pandemic and the problems we've had with social distancing and actually being able to go and see people physically, that actually the trust form is one example there, how you've moved to the market really, and the ability to do a digital signature really allows this to be an online trust really.
We see the benefit of not only the trust itself and the reasons for setting a trust, but you've probably highlighted the stats before, Vince. But plans that are in trust stay on the books and stay. The client keeps them for a longer period of time. They're not in a situation where they could be challenged by some remote firm that might contact your client out of the blue, etc., based on price. They stay on the books, so it's not only the trust itself, but for the persistency of the business, it really helps.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the end of the trust really. So we've completed it. Now, if you've obviously got a wet signature, that's fine. If you've got the digital signature, you will need a note to actually demonstrate to Royal London that it actually was a proper digital signature. So as I say, we'll get into that detail. And just remember, if we go back up to the top of the trust, I think we're looking at page number 3. You can see there what to do with the trust. And as Tony said before, we can email it into Royal London or post it to Royal London. Just remember, it needs to be a copy, not the original. Okay, so there we go. We've completed the trust. We know what to do with it, and that's job done for the client. So Tony, thanks very much for joining us on this podcast and walking us through. And thanks to you guys for tuning in and listening to the podcast. I hope you found it useful. Until next time, it's bye for now.